Welcome back to Mind Your Biz. My name is Seth, and in today's creator highlight episode, we're moving from highlighting a creator or just your typical builder into somebody who, he's a more recent addition to the pantheon of crypto builders. 5 years ago, if you had asked him, he might not have even told you that he would find himself in this position of being in the crypto building space. I'm so pleased to have with me today, Gary Cardone. Gary, welcome to Mind Your Biz.
Seth, good to see you, buddy. Really good to see you. And you're right. Like, I didn't expect to be here.
Well, we'll talk about that, right? That's the great thing about this interview is the sort of the journey, and then of course the person behind that journey. I'm a strong believer in the fundamental investing thesis of investing in teams, right? And so knowing that you were part of this scene and part of this new venture, of course my ears perked up, and everybody else, right, who I know was saying, "Oh, Gary's involved. This has got to be good. This is somebody who's a known good actor from previous ventures." But for the audience that maybe doesn't know you very well, who's Gary Cardone in 30 seconds? And I know there's going to be that inevitable comparison of like, oh, well, that's a name I recognize, but it's not the guy that I remember it for.
Yeah, not the guy with all the jets and helicopters that shows off all the time. That guy.
Hey, every family every family has one, like that guy. Not quite like this one.
Every family actually should hope to have one. So
correct.
He has done an unbelievable job. We're talking about Grant. Grant's journey and my journey have been extremely different. The reason that most people don't know about me is many of the businesses that I built, my clients just did not want me in their face. So it just, when you start dealing with people like Exxon, Mobil, Shell, Visa, MasterCard, they're more quiet firms. So Grant's really consumer focused, and he's done an unbelievable job. I took a very different path, went into corporate right out of college with an economics background, went into the energy business, spent 24 years there, helped build a Fortune 30 company from 12 people to 6,000, exited when I was 41, I think, and retired from the energy business because I thought that it was flatlining. That would prove to be true. Took about 6 years off, Seth, to study religion, history, and myself. I think those are really fundamental things to study if you're building businesses or you want to be happy in life. And met a woman in LAX airport because I had a 2-hour layover and I was single, so I was looking for somebody to talk to. She would bring me into the payments industry. I would spend 12 or 14 years in the payments industry. We built a really cool business around credit card disputes. And about 5 years ago, I started getting really bored. When I build these businesses, once I kind of put the Gary Cardone cookie cutter on it, after 4 years, the business really doesn't need me. I'm a really, really good delegator. And I'm somebody that likes the blank canvas. So I started getting a little nervous and want to go do something different. Started studying blockchain, bought Bitcoin in 2018 along with gold because I thought the whole world was unstable then. This is eight years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's even more unstable. Did nothing with Bitcoin for a couple of years because the business really had consumed a lot of my energy, and then started reading, found some time and read the white paper. And I'm a very inquisitive intellectual, even though I don't look like it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm an intellectual, but I am like intelligent conversation. And became fascinated. And I think the energy background and the payments background was kind of the structural glue or foundation. I could see all the problems that Bitcoin could possibly solve. I probably disagree with the industry that's been around a long time that's going to happen in the same time speed that they think. And I think that's actually a good thing. I'm not being critical. I think it's a good thing. This is going to take longer than people expect. But we're living in history, and every human being on this planet has an opportunity to participate in this space. And it doesn't mean that they have to go buy Bitcoin. they can get a job in this space. Like we were talking earlier, you do not have to have a college degree. In fact, there is no education for this except in the industry itself. So to me, it's one of the great opportunities in life, and I would be remiss in turning my back to it.
Sure, yeah, and it sounds like Gary, based on the, thank you for that. The some of that experience, and even taking that hiatus, you're an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. I think it was the founder of 5 Hour Energy that did a similar sabbatical, right? I think it was a multi-year where he took a retreat, I think to Tibet specifically to study with monks, and joined a monastery for a short time before he came back into the mainstream, and then launched this 5 Hour Energy brand, and just, the rest is history, right? He killed it.
Yeah.
But similar thing, right? And some would call it whatever, sharpening the saw. We use a lot of these phrases to describe what you actually went out and did there. So when you describe like, oh yeah, no, I'm interested in having these, raising that, like elevating the IQ of a conversation, that's definitely been my experience of you so far. And I think that's proof, right? That you took that time to understand more about the world and the universe and yourself.
Yeah.
So kudos. It's amazing.
Well, myself is the big piece, right? Because I'm the real asset or the liability. I'm either an asset or a liability in every situation. If people looked at their lives this way, I think it would be like when I show up to for instance, this meeting. I only met you once or twice before. One of the first things I'm going to ask, hey, what can I do? What's your audience like? We just, how can I help you make this a better community? Because I think that's like, we can't do this by ourselves, right? We have to do this as a collaboration because we're going up against a very large club. In fact, multiple clubs. So we got to get our shit together and put all our little differences. Am I a mini or a maxi? Like all this stuff is really kind of, to me, disappointing. It's a little disappointing, but every industry I've ever gone in did not want me there. They fought me tooth and nail. I think this industry actually would be well served by having some disruptors in this that have done this before on scale. If you can disrupt, 50 men on this planet literally transform the way energy trades around the world. If we can disrupt natural gas and electricity trades on the half hour. If we can disrupt the most vital commodities on the planet, where ExxonMobil does not get a premium for their energy, they sell at the same price of everybody else, whether it's Citadel or ExxonMobil, doesn't matter. It's $82.37. Yet battery makers get a premium for putting a label on something. All that's added cost to a system. And we're glitching a little bit. All of that's adding stress to a system that I think digital solves a lot of these problems. And there's a lot of smart people moving into this space. To not notice the intellectual capital moving into space would be a huge error.
Oh, no, completely. The best and the brightest are moving towards these industries for sure. And hopefully that does mean that we see disruptors from other industries among the best and the brightest. Because occasionally, right, you find people who are extremely bright, but they're not necessarily intent to disrupt. They want to be involved in an iterative process, or like you said, they want to just work a job with teams that will disrupt. But yeah, there's no denying that that there's brain drain, and it's all pooling towards cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, stranded energy, right? Stranded carbon in this sector. There's so many different sides to attack from. And yeah, so it's, at least for me anyway, being in crypto, indie publishing and having a YouTube channel and talking to people who are coming in to disrupt, I'm not shocked that you found your way here, right, to where you are. But I'm still pleasantly delighted, because it's like, okay, cool. We need a guy like Gary in this space. Glad you're here. But let's talk a little bit about the for you, your life before crypto. You mentioned that that you had worked in energy, right, for I think it was 22 years, and then in payments,
20 years, from 21 to 41.
Okay, got it. All right, that's a solid resume, right? Not a lot of people who are currently in Bitcoin can claim that, unless they're starting to join ventures like yours. But prior to that point, what would you view as some of the big wins that kind of got you interested, where you saw those opportunities? You said, I think that we can disrupt this over here. What were some of those big milestones for you that kind of built that confidence? Because you're coming in not with swagger, but like with a vision. What added to that? What created that for you?
Well, the first thing I left a really big oil and gas company, a big name, and my parents, my dad was dead by then, but my parents would have been like, okay, he's done. 22 years old, he went to work for XYZ oil company, and he's sitting in a mahogany building, and I was bored to death, man. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. This is insane. There was a regulatory event where the regulators came in, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission came in and made a change in the marketplace. It was a very large change. They just pulled one little string on all their regulations, and that opened up a flood of opportunity. I have always been able to observe and notice certain things, and this just fit me like a glove. I jumped ship. I went to work for a startup because I have this thing that goes off in my chest I tell people about, that's my indicator that I need to follow this thing. Not what my mom thought the resume should be, or what. When I took this job at Natural Gas Clearinghouse, 20 people said, dude, that's stupid. You're working for a great company. You're leaving to do a startup. There was 12 people there. I made so much money, it was stupid. Everybody told me this is going to end. All the people that told me it was going to end are still working at these big oil companies. They look like 30 years older than me. I'm really sad for them, actually. What for me, it was, I needed to stay really intellectually stimulated. I spent 5 years in Houston, really learning from some great people. And then, a root beer, I'm sorry. And then saw an opportunity in London, begged my management to send me to London for a experiment. Went there on the pitch that I would make $1 million, and 2 years later, we'd made 120 million pounds sterling. That showed me what I was able to do as a guy from Louisiana with this accent in London. You would have thought, hey, shit, he ain't gonna make it. But for me, it was okay. Once I'm out from under, when I was 7 years old, I went on a baseball field, and I remember I had a bunch of surgeries before I was 18. I think I had 4 surgeries before the age of 18. Jeez. So I wasn't really physically capable like my twin brother was, just because of the physical. But I remember walking up to the baseball plate. Our team was down. I must have been 7 or 8 years old. Second, 2 outs, last inning. And I'm like, I have a chance to be a hero here. And I'll just be really honest, okay? I don't know anybody that doesn't want to be Tony Stark, okay? I think like, who doesn't want to be Tony Stark? I went and hit the ball. I knew it was pressure point. I knew I had an opportunity to man up or man down. I manned up, I got on and saved the game. And from that moment, I'm like, that is the role I want to be in. I don't need a big team behind me. I'm okay being at the tip of the spear. It fits my personality. This is why I say it's really important for people to know who they are.
Sure.
Because that tip of the spear would show me, hey, don't ever get into a position where you're management, Gary, and you're running a bunch of people. Be the tip of the spear, right? That's what I'm good at. I'm used to taking the hits, the stuff that I'm getting some criticism from some of the more extreme Bitcoin holders. Like, okay, you guys want to have a debate? Let's have a debate. Y'all can all come to my house. Let's all sit down with a beer and let's talk like men instead of doing this on Spaces and Twitter and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, let's all sit down, okay? I am not going anywhere. Visa tried to get rid of me. The FTC's tried to get rid of me. MasterCard tried to get rid of me. ExxonMobil hated me for years. It took me 3 years to have lunch with ExxonMobil.
Jeez.
So like these guys ain't getting me out of anything. Okay. I'm here to stay. There's a lot of cool people coming to this space that actually I share more in common with them than they do with this industry. So I think like this is such a big opportunity. We need everybody from 18 to 88.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to be agreeing on what we agree on.
Sure.
And let's not worry about what we don't agree on. Like I'm sure you and I can disagree on something. We can find something to disagree on.
Yeah. If we work hard enough, we'll find it for sure.
We won't even have to work hard. We have to work harder to find out what we really agree with, right? And how we can help each other. That's the challenge.
Sure.
So I'm just too old to be talking about a bunch of negative stuff. It's like, I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. How can we help each other? Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's funny. I don't even think we disagree. I believe in the Bitcoin standard. I just don't think it's going to happen tomorrow morning. That's right. Hey, you can't digest it. Okay. Your gut isn't big enough to take all of this. And I think that's the misunderstanding. And this is the legacy players like Visa and MasterCard think we're idiots the way we talk. It took them 52 years to get 7 credit cards in everybody's pockets. 52 years of adoption. Okay. Millions of, probably hundreds of millions of dollars of ad spend. Every rugby match, every soccer match, every football match, MasterCard, Visa, MasterCard, Visa, MasterCard, Visa. So the lobbying that has occurred. So at 52 years, we need to be pragmatic about how long this is going to take, right?
Sure. I think people are a little bit spoiled though by some of the adoption amplifiers and some of the force multipliers of the digital age, right? Especially the information age, right? Within the digital age, right? The early internet days, the .com boom and bust. I mean, it seems like adoption cycles have maybe they've shortened. So I think people have this skewed vision of whether or not finance will follow. And they're looking at the wrong sectors to model their projections for adoption when it comes to new technology. So, I mean, your Paul Krugman's saying that the internet will be no more or less important than, the invention of the fax machine, for example. There's some people who took the wrong data points to back test their assumptions, and so what you're saying really resonates, Gary. That's what I'm saying. What you're saying really resonates about looking at Visa and MasterCard as maybe a more close fit for those projections, but everybody's looking at, having a website, using email, adopting social media. And when you talk about people's livelihood, the means of payment and the means of production behind those, the value that goes into payment, I think that your thesis it holds a little bit more merit maybe than just presuming that it's like a new social media platform where people just have to get used to a new app on their phone or something.
Yeah, well, when there's no barrier to entry, there's no barrier to entry, and you get everything in the kitchen sink. I actually don't think the adoption in this industry has been good at all. I don't think there is any real adoption yet. I think you have a bunch of crypto people, and then you have a few people like me and Anthony Scaramucci and Mark Yusko and Mike Saylor and people that are seeing this opportunity going, hey, I'm being pushed out of this market, man. I'm having to work harder to make just the same amount of money. I'm having to pay my secretary 120 grand just so she's like not freaked out when she shows up at work. So a few of us are seeing what's been happening. Now, this has been happening a long time. Kind of slippery slope. I think the slope's getting a little bit more gradient. My hope is the spot ETF. Look, there's so many green flags here. For the first time in crypto's history, you have the SEC coming out saying this is a sustainable asset class. It's international. There's not a lot we can do about it. Okay. Gensler has said, hey, it is a sustainable asset class. He might have made a mistake. That's been removed off the internet, by the way. But when you say asset class and it's one word, it's very different than an asset. So when you say asset class, that means pension funds are going to move funds into that asset class. Then the Treasury Department drops a 350-page document. I'm going to send it to you for your audience that has not seen this document. 350-page document does not get created by ChatGPT overnight, okay, on treasury and taxes and broker-dealer. The U.S. government is basically saying, hey, we know this is happening. We want to collect our piece of fat, and this is what's going to be required. That is a monster green flag, okay? They're getting prepared to put up speed limit signs on the highway that's been built. So, and they're also giving most everyone, I think you're going to get a waiver for anything you did before. So you got to start getting your shit together, because they're basically saying, look, these are going to be the rules. We know this market's not going away. We're only 12% of this market, US, but we need you guys to behave like Fidelity behaves. And what does Fidelity do? I was on the phone with Fidelity's president. I said, Tom, the company I invested in, it's called Node 40. I said, Tom, all we're doing is providing the reporting and analytics and forensics on digital assets that you've been doing for years for your legacy players. If they have 100 shares of IBM and 10,000 shares of NVIDIA, they know exactly what their cost base is, what their P&L looks like. We're doing the same thing with Node 40. It's just more complicated to do in the digital age, because these are the kind of businesses that are going to be awesome. Reporting, analytics, tons of different tools that are needed to ensure that the professionals around these investors, I am not the problem. I mean, I could be the problem if I don't know what my position is, but it's my accounting firm, my lawyers, it's those guys. It's when the audit shows up, $55 billion tax budget's been approved by Republicans and Democrats. They're going to hire 30,000 IRS agents. Guys, what do you think they're going to go after? They're writing a report. They got an approval for a budget on both sides of the house. And I think they're going to come and collect their taxes. Less than 1 million people have paid any taxes on crypto. Y'all can hate me for wanting to pay taxes on crypto, but as long as I still live in the US, that's kind of the rule.
Sure. Yeah.
So
pardon me rolling this disclaimer as you're talking about like being a law-abiding citizen and paying taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably just good advice. But
look, even if you're not paying the taxes, let's say you get away with it, you're going to be audited at some point. Okay, if you're in Puerto Rico, guess what? You're going to get audited, right? Because you're arbitraging a 20% tax haven. If you're in Bitcoin, they've identified you as a player that they want to collect from. So I would get your stuff in order so that your audit and the professionals around you don't abuse you. Like, for instance, if you have an accounting firm or a lawyer that does not have a digital division and you have like $200,000 worth of crypto, you need to go find a lawyer that specializes in digital assets, because this is very different.
Sure.
If you don't have an accounting or a tax firm, call me, man. I can introduce you to 5 of the biggest firms in the world that actually have divisions that aren't gonna. I mean, I've seen guys make $700,000 mistakes on taxes on moving Coinbase to Coinbase Pro, and they're professional thinking that's a liquidation event.
Oh, geez.
Yes, dude, this is very complicated.
Yeah, and Gary, this has been kind of the issue that so many people have been facing, even up to just a couple of years ago. These firms that you're mentioning that now have a special division, I can promise you, 5 years ago they didn't. Most of them didn't. Right? If any of them did 5 years ago, I would be shocked. So when you talk about long-term hodlers or hodlers of last resort in Bitcoin and in crypto, some of these people have been holding their cryptocurrencies for so long that they've been kind of sitting back. It's not that they have no intention of paying their tax liability. It's that they're legitimately asking, okay, IRS, what's the playbook? Like you mentioned before, where are the speed limit signs? Where's the off ramp? What do you consider a liquidation event? What do you consider a taxable? Like when have I incurred a tax liability? And they just have gotten a different story every year or two over the last decade, right? If they've been long-term holders of this asset, they've been unable to get that clarity from the IRS directly, and then trying to find somebody that they can hire as counsel for, or a CPA or whatever who specializes. It's been even harder for them to figure out, okay, who here is going to go stake their reputation and their whole business on this new asset class, and they've come up short in a lot of territories, right? So your major markets, you might find an excellent guy in LA, New York, Chicago, right? And then in other markets, you're kind of out of luck for the most part. and have been for a lot of years. So I think there's been a huge challenge for people who intend to pay their taxes, fully intend to, but they say, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see. I'll go keep my cash flowing elsewhere, and I'm going to keep that segmented from my crypto. And I'm just going to wait until there's perfect clarity here so that I don't make some of those big mistakes. A nearly $1 million mistake just transferring funds from one account to another, and then being told that I've incurred a tax liability. Like, man, there's little upside to that. So I know a lot of people are just waiting. Like the sort of crypto purists who have everything in cold storage or in a wallet. A lot of them are just waiting to say, all right, well, one of a couple things happens. Either there's massive clarity in the tax code regarding these digital assets, or we, God forbid, we see a massive collapse in the economy, and there's a complete reframing of what these digital assets are compared to our fiat system, central banking, and the retail banks, maybe. And then another possible outcome is somewhere in between, right? Where there is maybe more clarity in other jurisdictions. And so you start to see the jurisdictional arbitrage. If the EU gets it right with MiCA, for example, we're going to see some people just say, all right, well, then the EU's got it right. I'm going there. Or maybe Dubai's got it in a way that they prefer. And they say, okay, well, Dubai's got it figured out. I'm going to go see what's good in the UAE, right? Like, how do I make sure that I do the right thing and that I enjoy, right, the fruits of my labor? So I know it's a tricky situation for a lot of people who've done well for themselves in crypto, and scarier still for people who maybe haven't quite done as well as they want, but it would be devastating if they lost everything because of a mistake with the IRS.
Yeah. Again, I think it's like you bring up an example of the hodler, right? He's been buying since $200 and he's never sold anything. Well, he doesn't have a tax event. However, that guy's going to die, okay, one day. 100% of the people holding Bitcoin today are going to die.
Yeah.
46% of the people that are married that own Bitcoin are going to get a divorce, period, okay? These are stats now. So for the hodler who says, I don't need a tax guy, I don't need software, you are so wrong. It's unbelievable, okay? You're going to leave these when you die to your children, assuming that you left the keys and the security and you had your shit together, right?
Yeah.
What happens when your kid gets a phone call from the U.S. government? She's got $10 million. All you guys think Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million. So you got 100 Bitcoin, $100 million. You think the government's not going to put you through an audit, those daughters or kids through an audit? And the first thing they're going to ask, hey, where did your dad get the money? Hey, when that moved from Coinbase to Coinbase Pro into Fidelity back into cold storage, like, whoa. What? Minimally, you're going to have an audit. Your kid, like I have a pet peeve. My dad died when I was 9 years old. My children, I have an assistant here. First, she said, what is my job? Your job is to bury my ass, dude. I don't want my kids doing it. I don't want my kids having to pay for any of that shit going. Like, why you want to put your kids through that stuff?
Right.
I don't want my kids. I'm going to leave my kids $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. I don't want to leave them a problem. I want to leave them a problem that they can actually go create something, not defend against draconian overreach. So my message is get your shit in order. Like every year you should have a position to your accounting firm and your family going, hey, this is what I didn't sell any, only acquired. Okay. Now you can go through that and do it on your own little spreadsheet if you want, but your kids are still going to have a third party. This is what we did. So they keep the audit time and the forensics down. I maintain it as the professionals around these children and the investor who abuse them. I paid 40 grand to an accounting firm to assess my tax exposure on my crypto position because I was in the middle of a divorce. I had to do it, right? The judge was like, hey, man, like, what's the deal?
Right.
These guys charged me 40 grand. They made a monster mistake. It's not like I got my money back.
Wow.
Okay. 40 grand. I had to do it. Okay.
Sure.
So this is why I bring up litigation. Like when families break up, like which coins are going where? Am I moving the $200 coin? They tried this. They were like, hey, look, we want you to liquidate it all. It's $20 million of Bitcoin, man.
Oh, geez.
Dude, I am not liquidating shit. Okay?
Right. Well, yeah,
you can't.
Yeah, if there's as long as you're even an acrimonious breakup, even in a bad breakup, you don't want to burn.
Oh, this was bad, bro. This was maybe the most expensive divorce in Florida.
Sure, but that's what I'm getting at. But the liquidation and the taxable event of liquidation.
Well, see, that's how I popped him though. I said, okay, cool, we'll liquidate them. Who's paying the taxes?
Right.
Or hey, listen, I'll send her half the coins. Cool. Am I sending her the $69,000 coins or am I sending her the $800 coins? Because those two issues are monsterly different. And if I don't have my professionals with like granular clarity on everything, as soon as I showed them this information, my lawyers and everybody got so smart. They were like, hey, dude, look, you can take a capital gain there, sell all your Bitcoin, take a freaking huge tax loss because you bought a bunch of stuff at 50 grand. I bought Node 40 on a Saturday afternoon by taking a huge tax loss on Bitcoin. And then I respun up my Bitcoin position at a lower price. But I had the data like right at my fingertips down to the penny. And I wasn't like rolling around FTX, Binance, looking for stuff, dude. It just all kind of sorts down. None of my professionals need to know anything about any of those coins, what they do, what they don't do, blockchain, zero knowledge. This is an asset. This is Gary's cost base, period. So like not to spend money on that. And you think this stuff is worth $1 million, not to spend 10 grand a year on getting your shit together. It's just dumb and dumb.
Yeah, no,
it's unprofessional. Actually, it's really unprofessional. That's really what it.
Sure. Well, and Gary, like you're saying, historically, so far, in like since Bitcoin's earliest adoption, I shouldn't say mass adoption, but its earliest adopters and those long-term hodlers and the early investors in Ethereum. I used to go on a semi-regular cadence. I used to go out to lunch with a few people who were early Ethereum ICO holders, and so they have this similar problem, right? Where they're thinking about estate planning. A lot of them are family dudes. They're thinking about estate planning, praying to God that their marriage doesn't dissolve, right? But they're thinking about estate planning and thinking about what's going to be left over for the kids, and then trying to figure out like just some of the basics of, well, back then I didn't have it in some brokerage account. I didn't transfer it to a brokerage account. It's still, cryptographically pure, right? It's whatever, it's on chain only. And then trying to figure out how do you come up with a succession plan? How do you come up with an estate plan?
Yeah.
Who's going to manage this, right? Who's going to be your trustee? Who could be your trustee? Because in their cases, it's also kind of a science experiment too, right? Where you got to go and figure out, how do I make sure that I don't misplace these keys? One mistake and a third party can come in and wipe out that whole nest egg, right? That whole nut, it's just gone. It's a pretty treacherous thing to think about, estate planning, but it is the challenge of every crypto holder of our time, right? 50 years from now, hopefully it's not the same issue that we're still dealing with, but today.
Yeah, the incongruency here is, hey, I think it's worth $1 million. And it's like, then why are you treating it like it's a popsicle that's going to melt? Right. Like you're not deploying any money into this. You're like, fuck everybody, accountants, lawyers, so angry. It's like, dude, you think it's worth $1 million. Guy shows up and he says, hey, what's your crypto position? I've got 3 Bitcoin. But I asked, what's your position though? Well, $75,000. No, dude, you think it's a $3 million position, dude. You just told me you think it's worth $1 million in 8 years. Then don't treat it like it's a bicycle.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you have to like put the safety belt on. You're telling me you think your vehicle is going to run 150 miles an hour down this road and you're going to not put a safety belt on. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
interesting. You're not going to have any insurance. Really?
Yeah. That was a great analogy.
It's very immature, right? It's just an immature, like you need to, if you think it's worth $1 million, then treat it like it's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
Not like it's worth 25. Why did so many people lose millions of coins? Because shit was priced too cheap, man. They didn't value it properly. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody losing coins at $27,000. Do you? I haven't heard that in forever.
It happens. It still happens, but people are a lot more quiet about it, or it's a false flag and it's part of their strategy, which is, like you said earlier, it's ill-advised, right? Because you will be found out later on.
Got it. Yeah.
Where they say, oh, I've been hacked. It's the
Yeah.
whole I lost all my guns in a boating accident bit, right?
Yeah.
I've been hacked. My crypto, my Bitcoin's gone. I can't believe it. And a lot of us are scratching our heads like, you've been holding this for 8 years and we're really supposed to believe you lost it all today? Nah, not buying it. But yeah, you're right. It's very adolescent at best, right? In that case, where it's like, hey, you managed 8 years. What? Really? This is your safety belt. This is your insurance. It's to pretend like you lost it all. Probably not a good idea.
In order for us to get mainstream adoption, if indeed we want mainstream adoption, I hear a schizophrenia inside the Bitcoin community. I mean, just the other day I heard, hey, look, we don't like Gary Cardone in this community because he's a rich guy. Wow. When you want adoption from the poor people? Because that hasn't gone very well for Bitcoin. The underbanked has not adopted. Okay. The adoption is just not happening. And by the way, that's not the adoption that is not the adoption path of any product. The adoption path for all products is institutional first. You need the big boys. Like I moved $3.5 million on a Saturday afternoon to a company, and that guy was able to use the money on a Saturday afternoon. That could not happen in the legacy world. On the day that Celsius was in meltdown, total capitulation and Galaxy, and I moved $3.5 million in 12 minutes. You know, and to buy a company, like I saw that if you haven't moved funds like that on a Saturday, you really don't know how great this product is. Right. And those are really great use cases that I think if we get corporates, and this is what Sailor's pitch has been. Hey man, if the corporates start doing this, I saved an hour from a secretary having to do the wires. And if you don't think an hour of my time is worth something, it's worth a lot to me.
Sure. Definitely. Yeah. If it's a billable hour, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, any hour, right? Just any hour. Cause like, as I get older, man, my hours are like, I can't buy any more hours. Okay. Bitcoin, you think Bitcoin's good. Like I can't buy any more hours. So anyway, it's, look, this is a young industry. It's just getting its rate. It's almost like a super vehicle has shown up. We have no roads, no stop signs, no rules really.
Yeah.
No seat belts. I mean, all of that gets built post facto.
Sure. Well, and like you mentioned earlier, the example of the adoption of the credit card companies, right? Your Visa, your MasterCards, your, what was it, Diners Club?
Yeah.
I mean,
that
12 years.
That was the first one. By the way, they didn't make it, right? I mean,
right. Exactly. I mean, they didn't live into that point of technological sort of uplift where all these cards started to get the mag strip, right? That was the big innovation, right? What was that, 12 years in, 15 years in?
Yeah. Before
there was a magnetic strip on these cards. And then, how many more decades later before we had the chip, and then we had the tap to pay? Like all this stuff took time. It took a significant amount of time to make this more user friendly for people. But
52 years. It took 52 years for full adoption.
It's crazy. Let me throw on screen real fast. You got Node 40, right? And throw that right there real fast. Node 40 Inc. You mentioned this was almost on a lark that you jumped in. I don't believe for a second that you jumped into Node 40 on a lark. You did your research, I know. But let's talk about this. What is Node 40 and what drew you to it?
Well, it's a weird story actually, how this deal came about, but all my stories are pretty weird. I actually sat down one afternoon and said, hey, look, if I'm going to work, see, this is the problem for Bitcoin. I can just sit here and do art all day long and just acquire Bitcoin. I mean, I do believe it's a $500,000 asset at some point, whether it's 10 years or 12 years or 2 years, I don't know. But I basically asked myself a question of, hey, what do I want to do when I grow up? This was literally 2 years ago. And if I'm going to go back into business, I mean, my only hobby is building businesses. I'm sorry, I'm a boring guy. It's just what I do.
Well, no, Gary, if I may, and the way I would interpret that is you're an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. Some people use the term serial entrepreneur, but no, I think anybody who's built anything has a secret aspiration to do what you're doing. That it makes sense. It does make sense to a certain mind.
Well, if I get bored, I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm old enough now to go, okay, look, I can go bar hop and I can go find girls. Okay, I can, but it's not really, I'm not helping anybody but myself, and maybe even not helping myself. So I wrote down a whole list of things that I would require if I was going to build another business. 3 weeks after writing this deal pops it in my lap. The guy it was in play. They were raising on $20 million valuation, about $1.5 million. And I called the angel team up and I said, hey, look, I'd like to look at this deal. And they said, hey, why don't you show up to a webinar in 2 weeks? And I'm like, webinar? Like, I want to talk about it right now. So he was going to lunch. That guy had a really important lunch. I then got on LinkedIn. True story. I get on LinkedIn. Who the hell is the CEO of Node 40? Call him. I LinkedIn him. Hey, here's my phone number, 213, blah, blah, blah. 20 minutes later, he called me. 1 week later, him and his CTO were in my home for 4 days. They lived in my house. I wouldn't let them stay at the hotel. I was like, no, you're staying with me, dude. I wanted to see who they were as human beings.
Yeah.
Because technology, I think people spend way too much time on technology. You need to look at the people. The people are the ones that make the technology work. So, and I'm not a technologist, but I am a very creative commercial human being. I love what they were doing. Okay. They were literally setting up forensics, audit trails, tracking, fraud. Now, why would I be interested in that? If you do the research, fraud and analytics, big data companies, dude, they get the biggest premiums in the market always. And I don't have any commodity risk. Bitcoin could go to $1. You're still going to have to do your accounting. Bitcoin could go to $1 million. Still got even more so you got to do your accounting.
Yeah.
So for me, it was my way of getting access. I bought this company in the middle of a very violent divorce. Okay. So I had to go to my lawyers, which is a big no-no. I had to go to my lawyers and go, hey man, this deal, I'm doing this deal. Now, how do we tell the other side? We just spent $4 million of family funds, right? And didn't ask anybody on buying a firm that once you buy that firm, like you're not going to liquidate it. So I knew it was going to create a shit storm for me because it's just not what you do. But for me, the family, I was like, hey, look, I told my lawyer, Peter, I said, Peter, he said, Gary, dude, this is just like, don't do this. And I'm like, look, the problem is you're not an entrepreneur. If you were an entrepreneur, you would know that the greatest deals come across your lap when it's not convenient. Okay. It is never convenient when these great deals come along. It's the worst time. I just bought one. I'm illiquid. Shit, I don't want it. I'm in a divorce, right? Like I had to say yes. We bought in at the right valuation. I love the team, but more importantly, what I liked is that the founders were adaptable to change their strategy. My strategy is to go after institutions. My twin brother loves selling to the consumer. Okay. That is his business model. He's got it wrapped and locked down tight. He's got a brand. I have never sold anything to consumers. I don't like consumers. I don't like class action suits. I don't like ignorant people. I want to sell to Goldman Sachs. You know, I've been doing business with the Goldman Sachs of the world since I was 23 years old. I have never had a lawsuit, never had a civil lawsuit, never had any problems because these are big boys. They might bitch, you know, but we're going to have a drink that night after one of us lost $50 million because we know we're going to play the next day too. It's just a game that we play.
Sure.
So I was excited that I did not see anyone serving the very top end of the market. You know, people with 3 Bitcoin, 300, 3,000, high frequency traders, institutions trading their own position, because it was very, very clear to me, and it's probably more clear to me today than it was, that you will be required to do this. This is the part of any market. So crypto is not going to get away from not having to report and not having risk management tools at your fingertips that you guys are out there don't know what your absolute cost base is in each and every wallet is such amateur hour. I'm just going to be really call it what it is. If you don't know what your cost base is, you're an amateur. And I just think that's the right way to put it. Like, this is a big boys game, and you should, the more data you have, the better. So like, I just didn't see any downside to it. That team has gone from 8 people down to 28. Literally for less than $20 million, I'm gonna build $1 billion company, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what we did last time. I mean, in the chargeback space. So that business probably only cost me $10 million to roll out in cash. And
yeah.
I mean, I made a shitload of money on that business, and we screwed it up. Me and my wife screwed that business completely up. I mean, it was the governance matter, right? We were talking about governance earlier. Yeah. It's a problem with big businesses in a family that becomes big, and, you know, not everybody's on the same page going forward. So, you know, shit happens. So that's what, and I think there's, like, I just tried to buy another one just recently, a very similar company, but doing work with the security world, DOJ, Interpol, stuff like that. So these are going to be whole industries built in this space, man.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be cottage industries, multi-billion-dollar industries built around this ecosphere that institutions won't be here if these tools aren't there. They just won't show up, man. Like, they need these tools. So yeah, it's obvious to me, you know, if you're going to have a Ferrari, you're going to have to build a highway that can handle the Ferrari.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Yeah, with the all the ancillary sort of cottage industries, like you're saying, I think within cryptocurrencies, there's been a huge amount of focus placed on the infrastructure, just the tech infrastructure, right? So you got a lot of people. I mean, you mentioned Sailor earlier, right? And some other groups that are been discussing crypto mining and Bitcoin mining in particular, because they say, okay, well, clearly the protocol requires that you have that infrastructure in place. Otherwise, Bitcoin, the asset itself, can't be carried on its native rails of Bitcoin, the network. So that was self-evident, right, early on, as an industry that needed to grow up. And the mining industry is a multi-decabillion dollar industry, right? So it is already kind of that first very obvious go-to industry in support of Bitcoin, at least. And then with Ethereum, right, they've moved away from mining. So now that's all that cottage industry is shifted over to the way that their security is handled now on that network. So all of those things are evident, though, from a technologist's lens. And like you're saying, there's been a lot less concern for, well, okay, well, you know, how do we get people to use this stuff instead of, like, you know, we're all busy under the hood. We're getting to put people in the driver's seat. So,
well, it's gonna come through. You either, you know, when you're shaping these industries, you either self-regulate or you're regulated. And this industry has not done any self-regulation. So you're going to get regulated. The rules are going to come from the outside. You can bitch about it, but you didn't create the committees necessary to write the regs. And you also haven't done any policing of our yard. I cannot believe the amount of scumbags we let into this space. Like, why would you, if this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, you actually want people like me here, okay? Because although I might be a little aggressive as a entrepreneur, like, well, I am telling you the truth, okay? There's no sense in sugarcoating this shit. If it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, we need to behave like it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. You can't just keep, I mean, we can't have people like FTX pounding around, okay? We all participated with that, okay? A lot of us should have said, whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, whoa.
Right. Well, the highest chambers of government participated too, right? And as you're seeing right now, that the trustee is not pushing for clawbacks from political donation recipients yet. So that for me is a sore spot when you mention all of us being complicit with FTX. Like, please, let's maybe claw back some funds from those guys too. Make everybody,
Yeah.
We're very concerned about fairness.
What I mean is just even being complicit through being passive.
Right.
Okay. Like
Yes.
I went in this, who was it? Celsius. First time I saw a presentation on Celsius, I was with a guy from JP Morgan. We walk out of the room. It was here in Embark in Tampa. And I'm like, dude, that's Enron all over again. He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, he told me he has 200 risk managers. Okay. No one has a 200-man risk management department unless they're taking a shitload of risk. Okay. And they're paying somebody 14%, dude, in a zero interest rate market. Like, this is a total scam. 4 months later, the guy's flying on my plane. Like one of the guys from Celsius. He's telling me he's worth $1 billion. And the next day he was off back to Israel with his tail between his legs.
Jeez.
So we knew this, man. People knew what was going on. Okay. That's the stuff I think we need to start calling out, just to protect our neighborhood. Because this is truly a once in a lifetime opportunity. Okay. I don't believe people understand. I've spent 40 years of my life going up against these draconian duopolies, oligopolies, and monopolies, right? I mean, it has been this is my business. I break these, I create some disruption in their universe. Death by 1,000 cuts is my strategy. Get a bunch of guys like you, and we're all in Navy SEALs. Like, I remember Amico telling me one day, well, our ship is massive and we create this big weight behind the boat. And I'm like, bro, I'm going to have 20 SEAL operators just shooting BB guns at your hull for days and days. Sooner or later, your hull's going to get a hole in it.
Right.
Right. And that's the value of we have it as being really nimble and agile if we work together.
Yeah.
If we don't work together and we go, oh, Gary's motor's too big. Gosh, Gary shouldn't have a 50 cal. He should have a BB gun. Like,
no,
I'm shooting with you at the same target. Why are you shooting at me now?
Right.
Like, why aren't you supporting my ass? Okay. I'm actually helping. That we need to get our shit together.
Yeah.
It's truly the greatest opportunity I have seen in my lifetime. And that says a lot for a guy coming out of payments and energy, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming back out of retirement for this. Right. So, again, right. That does speak volumes. So Gary, I know that you've got a hard stop coming up pretty soon here. So I want to be respectful of your time. Let me ask, just as some quick follow-ups to what you're working on right now with Node 40. This is an acquisition, and it's something that you're clearly deeply passionate about because you see where there are already cracks in the hull and where this thing needs to be brought down, right, or disrupted. What have been so far with your work with Node 40? What would you view as some really big lessons, stuff where you needed to maybe help the team pivot a little bit, or maybe just some big milestones and achievements that you feel proud of so far with Node 40?
Well, I think I'm really the luckiest guy in the world in the entrepreneurial world. I seem to be at the right time, at the right place. I'm quite observant. And I've gotten to this point in my life where I believe that there's lots of messages out there. All I got to do is open my eyes. This space pulled me into it. And I noticed that other smart people share that same story of, hey, I got sucked into this space. I don't think you jump down a rabbit hole in this industry. I think it pulls you in.
Yeah.
Right. And that explains why that explains why my brother's not that interested. He will become very interested. It'll be 2 or 3 years behind me. That is his schedule. That's kind of how he does it. And it's not right or wrong. Like, I'm not making little or big of him. It's just what it is. He's done extremely well. The positives for the business was that, one, I love building businesses when you've had a puke session. When you have interest rates going up, I got 10 competitors: Taxbit, Coinly, Legible, Luca, blah, blah, blah. They're probably good human beings and they probably have a decent product, but they raise money at stupid valuations. I did not do that. I bought in at $10 million valuation, 40% of the company. We're raising $12 million right now at a $50 million valuation. Taxbit raised 2 years ago at $1.6 billion. Okay, so I'm at 50. Which paper do you want, Seth? You want me being majority shareholder and you get some stock options at 50 million? Or, and I've never built a $50 million business ever. It always is another zero.
Right.
Or would you like Taxbit, who's got a big lead? They got, you know, some more revenue than I do at $1.8 billion.
Yeah, there's no meat on the bone, obviously.
There's no fat. No fat has been left. Okay, it's been taken. Right. It's gone.
Yeah.
So I love that my CTO and my CEO are traders. They're not accounting firms. They're not accounting people. They're actually computer science people. I am proving that people from the most left political edge, and me, wherever I am, I don't even think I'm on an edge. People are going to call me a Republican. I am not a Republican. I do not vote like that. I vote for human beings, not clubs.
Yeah, that's another thing that's shared between intelligent people today in 2023, by the way.
I'm voting for some club, dude. So he and I, like, we get along extremely well. But we are madly different. We have learned how to value each other's differences. We went from 8 people to 28, and I think I'm sitting on $1 billion opportunity that in 3 years for another $12 million. I don't know where those. I don't like. This is the only way I know how to do it. Raise enough money to get you to the next level, and then don't ever raise money again. You get profitable. And that's the cool thing about building in recessions. Like the chargeback business, we were profitable for 12 years, man, from day one. I don't understand that this fintech, Node 40, will be a fintech digital asset company that actually makes profits. Okay, that we will be self-sustaining. And I only need 30,000 clients, man.
Jeez.
Okay, 30,000, and there's 52 million people that have listed their name as being holding crypto. So it just, you know, I've got, and the access it's given me is crazy. So yeah, I got a bunch of Bitcoin. I can call up Fidelity, but if I have a bunch of Bitcoin and I own a business in the digital asset space, blockchain space, gosh, I can probably get a meeting quicker. And as this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry, I think there's going to be multi-trillion dollars worth of investments made to make this. By 2050, I mean, this is going to be very, very different world. Okay. You're going to start taking market shares from somewhere else in the next 20 years. It's already happening, but you're really going to see it in volume at some point. So, dude, there's no shortage of opportunities. I could buy 3 more companies. Like there's so much to do. I don't even think that I don't think the opportunity is so big. It's mind boggling, which is saying so much to me. The family offices haven't even moved in the space yet, man.
No,
okay, ultra wealthy people are not here yet. They're not. At less than 0.5%.
Yeah. No, it is. No, that's a great way of framing it. Mind-boggling. I've got a couple of brothers who've been building in the crypto space. They were early to the game, right? Tragically early, really. 10 years ago, they were doing Bitcoin and crypto mining pools, building those. And I actually had a couple brothers who then like left because they were so early that it was just not. It was bad timing. And but no, we've had those conversations and compared those notes where we've legit lost sleep over it out of excitement, right? Where it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to build. There's so much to do. People don't know yet. And like you're saying right now, being positioned close to that knee of the curve of mass adoption, where you know that the next steps are going to be that regulatory clarity and clarity within the tax code and being able to get people that certainty so that those family offices can move in and then all of the larger institutions can move in and they know like, yeah, we're not going to go break the law. Huge.
Yeah. Well, if they thought they were going to even get close to breaking the law, they're not going to do it because they're not going to risk it. Right. That's the difference between people that have money. They're not risking it. They're like, no, I'm not going to go risk it for a little bit extra margin. They need that clarity. And look, I spend a lot of my time, right? I mean, it's just not for Node 40, it's for the whole industry. I spend a lot of time with family offices, and whether that looks like is me showing up to Connecticut 2 days, having dinner with a bunch of rich people. They're asking questions about energy, infrastructure, taxes, crypto, blockchain, right? They're looking for the new world. And without clarity and the tools to make that understandable to them, they're not going to come in with full arms. And if we make it difficult for them to come in and we get all weird, that's not helpful.
Yeah, too late.
You can't get adoption.
Too late, man. We're pretty weird over here.
You can't get adoption without adoption.
No.
Okay. And you can't expand your club if you have to be a certain color, certain age, a certain flavor.
Nah.
Like we either let everybody adopt and have access to freedom, or we're going to put caveats on it, just like we've had caveats placed on us for the last 8,000 years. I'm seeing the same behavior. I'm like, whoa, I thought this was supposed to be the free coin, right? The freedom movement. And I hope it is. I think we're in a Vietnam freedom 1960s environment where we're going through this. Hey, I want freedom. We got to just stay there, though. We got to hey, but it means freedom for everyone. You can't start going, well, that guy bomb that guy. So that guy's got a funny accent. That guy's too rich.
Right.
Right. Come on, man. Nobody's saying that about Sailor. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So,
no. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, let's do this. I want to be sure that because I agree. Bitcoin is an expression of freedom. It is the means of liberating more people, and with that clarity, then we can bring in a lot more people who will create industry, right? Discover future multi-decabillion dollar cottage industries that need to come in, because they'll bring what they know, and they we don't know what we don't know already inside of this industry. Folks like you are coming in to help educate us and help uplift the infrastructure and the clarity so that we can bring in even more, right? And have this resemble a much more structured and ordered and balanced ecosystem, for sure. But let's do this, because I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got to prep for another call that's coming up really soon. So let me ask, where is the best place for people to engage with Node 40 and maybe with you? And so where do you want them to go, and what do you want them to do when they get there?
Well, if you're an accredited investor and you're interested in the raise we're doing, just reach out to me. I'm easy to find. Gary.Cardone at Node 40, I think, or Gary at GaryCardone.com. There's Gary G at Cardone Digital Ventures, LinkedIn, whatever. I'm easy. I'm on Twitter, YouTube. I'm starting to do some of this podcasting stuff just to get the conversation going. You see what I'm trying to do hopefully I'm going to bring more of the old school guys into this, just to give a different perspective on this for you guys, because I think that's really helpful for everyone.
Sure.
And that's the reason I do these. It's an education. I'm really excited about the education. This is education. Okay. We are going to destroy mainstream media.
Yeah.
I mean, decentralization. You don't have to be on blockchain and Bitcoin for decentralization. Decentralization is biting right now. Mainstream media is the propaganda machine. If you believe in the deep state, then you have to believe in the propaganda machine being a main tool. Well, that's getting disrupted violently. Violently, man. Mainstream media is being disrupted. It's death by 1,000 cuts, 1,000 podcasters. Keep bringing them high quality, low quality. Dude, y'all just keep buying cameras and video equipment. Okay, that's awesome. If we don't get censored,
right,
right. We don't get censored. If we get censored, everybody should lock and load, right?
Yeah. Well, we are airing this interview on both YouTube and X.com just to have some redundancy. So yeah, I guess good luck to the censors.
People go where the people go, right? But look, I think it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be 18 or 38 or 48. I would tell you that I think I would be asking two questions to myself as a human being. One, who am I and what value do I bring? If you can't answer that question within microseconds, you should take this weekend to figure that out, because you're going to be discovered if you're not bringing value to the market, the world. If you work for a company, I would ask the same question. What does my company do? And you have to be able to explain it within 2 minutes or 2 sentences. What value does my company bring? If you can't do that, you should look for another job, because you're going to be eradicated from the planet. Okay, blockchain and Bitcoin, this whole digitization of planet Earth, that's what I call this, is going to expose those who have been taking and putting no value back in the system. All the premium for non-services, non-valued services that are just kind of like tax and tolling, they all go away. So if you're one of those companies that, you know, you're just adding a little thing, I think you're gone. And if you're an employee and you're just adding a little thing, like if you have to ask me 13 questions to build a bio on me, I can go do this on ChatGPT, okay? You can't ask me 12 times what my bio should look like. Like anybody should be able to do a bio on me. I'm so public. But so the secretary has to think, oh, wow, Gary just has all these tools at his fingertips now, right? You can't. So I just think people really need to think about where they're going to bring value. Once you do that, you're golden. And now you know what your secret agent gift is, because I really believe everyone has a gift. Like you have awesome communication skills, man. Okay, someone
appreciate that.
Help give you a foundation there, and then you've been tooling and tuning that communication skill. Appreciate it. Shit, I appreciate it, dude.
Well, thank you.
We need more great communicators.
Thank you. I got to give credit where it's due. Google and Microsoft both invested a bit into that. So, yeah, it's we all have a background.
But you were the student, okay? You were the student, and you showed up. You invested in your time and energy, and I'm not gonna just let you off and go, hey, happened by stamp. It happened because you made it happen. And that's an important message, right? So greatest opportunity in the history of mankind, in my opinion. And it is the largest transfer of wealth, but more importantly, power. It is the largest transfer of power in the history of mankind. What is happening right now, I'm telling you, you are living in history. If you let this opportunity just roll by under your feet, do not blame me or Seth. Okay, this is going to be one of the greatest opportunities in the history of mankind that very few people are really looking at and engaging with. And all you have to do is look at the amount of people, smart people, moving from academia, Harvard, MIT, etc., Wall Street, and big finance. And where are they going? Rockets, robots, biogen, and blockchain Bitcoin. Involved. I mean, like those industries are going to do well because you're supercharging them with intellectual capital. And they always expand. This is just such a big no-brainer. I can't figure out why more people aren't like just climbing in with, you know, all legs, feet, and dragging their whole families into this pool.
Yeah, well, Gary, to put a fine point on it, I think in part it's because they have been waiting to see actors like yourself, characters like yourself, move from where you were before into this to validate that little bit, you know, a little voice in the back of their head. They're like, yeah, maybe it looks a little bit interesting, but I got to wait until somebody I respect is in that industry. Yeah, and you're making that first move. So thank you for being that voice of reason. Thank you for being that exemplar to these people who are just waiting to see somebody who they know and respect and who they recognize moving into this industry to help give them the confidence to make that move right after you. And I mean, it's not that they aren't brave people. It's that they've been waiting to just see that, right? Have those assumptions validated. So thank you for being that guy. Thank you for your time. I got to cut the interview right there because at this point, because I've actually got to get to a call as well, but I so appreciate your time. Again, you said it, it's valuable and it means so much that you're you're getting into the trenches, right? And you're doing this education piece and this outreach. So again, you're going to inspire the next person who, what doesn't have this traditional, air quotes, blockchain background,
right?
Takes everything they know and then makes a lateral move into here and shakes things up. So I really appreciate you doing this and being that example.
Seth, thank you very much, buddy. Always good to cooperate with you. So anytime, man.
Yeah, definitely a pleasure. Mind Your Biz audience, you heard it from Gary himself. He's very accessible. Most of the links to what you heard him mention there are available. All you have to do is click on them down in the description. So what are you waiting for? That's free. Gary's time isn't. It'll cost you some real thought, some real effort. So come correct, right? Don't if you're gonna swing, don't miss. But yeah, appreciate you again. Mind Your Biz audience. Remember to stay private and mind your biz. See you in the next one.
Seth, thanks, man.